Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast. As ever, I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hi guys.
Hiya.
Hello mate.
A goals special.
Woo.
Goals galore, they used to call it, didn't they, on the DVDs way back in the day.
For our younger listeners, a DVD is a disc that had a film on it that you put into a player attached to your telly.
Yeah.
We were having a chat online earlier, talking about our favourite Arsenal goal ever. What's your guys' favourite goal? Arsenal goal, iconic.
Oh, straight in, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Ever.
It's an interesting one. I mean, depends what you mean by favourite. You know, personally, I can't separate emotions from the goals that I've experienced, and it's the most. When you look at the goal on its own, it's the most like inauspicious goal. But Andy Linnigan's towering header above the Sheffield Wednesday defence in the FA Cup final 1993. It's the first time we won a trophy that I witnessed and was fully 100% engaged in, and it was just incredible.
The sweet side of that story, as well as the defender, well, not defender, but the Sheffield Wednesday player challenging him for that header, was one Mark Bright, who earlier in the game had broken his nose with an elbow. I just thought it was a bit of poetic justice that it was Andy Linnigan who got the winner. Where is he now?
He's a plumber, isn't he, in Harpenden?
Steve Morrow didn't deserve to be dropped, though, did he?
Whee!
I thought that was in the League Cup, not the FA Cup. We won two
was
cups.
In the same year?
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
It was
in the same
was
year. It was the cup double, yeah.
Was that 1993?
I believe so.
93.
Yeah.
Right, let's do. Well, that's interesting because another player from that season, because we're having this chat online about we put it out there like favourite Arsenal goal or most iconic Arsenal goal of all time. That's how the conversation started. And David Hillier, who didn't actually play in those two finals because he broke his leg in a semi-final I think it was at Middlesbrough we played, or in a game against Middlesbrough shortly before the two finals. It's such a hard luck story because he missed the two finals. He also missed the Cup Winners' Cup final the following year against Parma. He unfortunately then made an appearance the following year against, was it Naeem from the halfway line? He does in his defence, or not in his trophy cabinet, he does actually have a Premier League winners medal from 1991, so he's doing okay. But he put forward his favourite goal as being the David Rocastle goal at Old Trafford. I think his exact words were, it summed up for him what Arsenal were all about: strength, power, skill and class. And Rocky's truly was a masterclass. That was from David Hillier. Then we've quite a few contributions in about favourite goals, but the one I want to focus on is from Jeff Arsenal at Jeff Arsenal on Twitter. And we all know this goal. It was the Henry goal against Manchester United at Highbury, where he received the ball with his back to goal about 30 yards out, and absolutely nobody could have anticipated what he was going to do. These are the words from Jeff Arsenal. He says, Henry received the ball, let it roll over to his laces, flicked it up before volleying it into the top corner over one of his World Cup winning teammates, Fabian Barthez. Was just an amazing moment of that time, truly amazing. And it was. And it's funny, Steph, you talked about Andy Linnigan's goal. My favourite goal, for a similar reason, was the first goal we scored against Newcastle in the FA Cup final, Mark Overmars. That was my first time at Wembley. I'd been exiled in Ireland for any previous success, and that was my first time at Wembley. And I remember the exact second the ball hit the back of the net, like it was yesterday. I didn't jump up and celebrate. I stood up, or we were standing up anyway, and I just turned around and looked at the sea of joy behind me, the emotion just kind of cascading down the terraces. It was just one of those there wasn't a mobile phone in sight, which was nice. And it was just one of those, and I can still remember it like it was yesterday. It was just one of those moments that kind of pinch yourself. This is actually happening. Soak it in, look, lap it up, just observe everything, slow time down. It was just a special
and
moment.
It's seared
Chris,
in your mind, isn't it? That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's seared forever in your mind.
It's your white noise.
Well, come to that, I'm sure.
What about you, Chris? What kind of goal? I mean, we've got like the iconic goals of Charlie George in 1971, before my time, but again, one of the most iconic goals, probably until the Michael Thomas goal at Anfield, I guess, the one that was shown most often. Liam Brady's goal at White Hart Lane, again, not necessarily my era, but I do, everyone can see that goal outside of the left foot into the far corner. What other goals? We've got the Henry, two Henry goals at Highbury for me. This against Spurs, when his celebration when he ran the entire length of the pitch. Isn't that his slide that's been immortalised in his statue? Yeah. And then his goal against Liverpool, where he slalomed through most of the Liverpool team in a game, but the context for that game as well. It was like our unbeaten run, wasn't it? We'd gone out of the Champions League and the FA Cup in the previous two games, and the league was on the line. And cometh the hour, cometh the man, kind of thing. And that goal for me stood out. The Bergkamp hat trick at Leicester.
I mean, Bergkamp could have a list and an episode all on his own.
The goal he replicated for Holland in the World Cup against Argentina, which is just insane goal. Talk about iconic goals. So there's loads, Chris. Where does your mind go?
We talked just briefly before we started recording about what are the criteria for your favourite goal, and you're right, I could have a list of great goals. So I've basically whittled it down to the best I think I've seen and how it made me feel. So they're the two that I'm kind of... So the one that made me feel the most emotion ever was actually Alan Sunderland in the 1979 Cup final, because I was a child and I hadn't stopped crying from us losing the Cup the previous year, I think, until when United pegged us back to 2-2.
The 10-minute final.
And I was just in pieces, and the switch of emotion from utter deflation to elation is, again, that's one that's seared on my memory as a kid, so I have to mention that. And the best one I've seen is that Thierry one against Liverpool, because of the stakes, because of what it meant, and the way that we celebrated that goal in the North Bank, for me. And like I said, there are loads of others, but two fantastic goals for me.
I'd love to claim that Alan Sunderland one as well, but really, rather annoyingly, my earliest cup final memory is from 1980, the Trevor Brooking goal for West Ham.
When he tied his shoelaces and inadvertently scored.
Yes, his only ever headed goal or something like that. But you at least after we lost to Ipswich in 78, you only had 12 months to wait. I had 7 years to wait. That was a lot. There's a lot of tears passed in those 7 years. And then it was who was it? Charlie Nicholas at Wembley. Yeah. Steph, any other iconic kind of goals? You went to the Andy Linnigan one. Any others?
Well, I mean, yeah. So from a similar time, I mean, Alan Smith scoring that goal against Parma. Me being a kid, I just thought, oh great, we win European trophies as well. But that was just absolutely brilliant, because again, I was young enough to have locked in and followed the whole sort of route to the final. Playing Sampdoria, Marseille. I mean, that was just so exotic for a kid like me from rural England. And then the other one, I'm actually similar to you in the sense of the Overmars goal at Wembley, but my first experience of watching Arsenal in a final at Wembley was as late as 2015. With my inability to get tickets, and so the second goal we scored against Villa in what turned out to be a very comfortable final was Alexis Sanchez shooting from a ridiculous distance, and it like howitzing in past Shay Given, and I just thought, I'm at Wembley, I'm watching Arsenal lift a trophy. I just felt like I'd completed some kind of like journey, or to use a horrible sort of X Factor phrase. And I thought that it doesn't get better than this as a fan to be here witnessing this, and for Sanchez to score a goal as audacious and ridiculous as that was just mind blowing. I don't even think I really celebrated. I think I just did that kind of like arms up in the air and stopped kind of celebration, because it was just ridiculous. Loved it. So
of course this conversation was prompted by Trossard scoring his. Or not his, rather, that would be impressive, the 1,000th Arsenal goal at the Emirates. And the conversation online kind of geared or drifted away from most iconic Arsenal goals of all time, to, well, okay, then what's your favourite Arsenal Emirates goal? And again, Chris, you said favourite's subjective. It could be aesthetic, it could be context, it could be just emotion, it could be what you brought into that particular game at that particular time, as much as anything else. And so we put that conversation out there. And Steph, I know you've done a lot of work online, a lot of engagement online, and we've had some fantastic responses from some wicked individuals, and you'll go through them in a minute. But first, I have got a little quiz all about the Emirates goals, the 1,000 of them. There are only 10 questions, so you can relax. There aren't 1,000 questions on each goal. So I think what I'll do is I'll pose the question, and then at the end I'll go through all the answers together. So I'll drop in 10 questions throughout. Now, 3 of them we've put out on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. I don't know, has it gone out on Instagram as well? I have no idea. But so the first question, and I'll give you the options. The first question is, how many games did it take us to reach the 1,000 goal mark? So how many games has it taken? So the 4 options online were, and this is a competition between you two boys. So Stef v Chris, Chris v Stef. Get your pens ready. He's got his pen ready.
But you can play at home as well, obviously.
But we won't know how you did unless you let us know.
Yeah.
Right. So the 4 options for this one: 374. 474, 574, or 674. So how many games? 374, 474, 574, or 674. Answers at the end. And 9 more questions along the way. Yay. So, Steph, you had a few chats with some cool bods on Instagram and Twitter, and it was all about their favourite goals and a little kind of explanation in some cases. What stood out for you in the responses we got?
Okay, so I mean, one that stood out particularly personally for me was from George Bird. George Bird is a brilliant correspondent who covers all things Arsenal Academy online. So if you want anything to do with, all the youth teams that are playing, he's all over it, and he's really good at following all the players throughout their careers as well. And he said, the Ramsey goal against Liverpool in 2013, a brilliant strike, and it felt like it could be a title-winning campaign at the time. It obviously didn't work out as a title-winning campaign, but it stands out for me because I remember seeing that from a hospital bed. That was the day I was diagnosed with my diabetes, and just remember, nurses and doctors coming to speak to me, and I'm going, no, just wait a minute, I'm watching the game. Thanks to the joys of being able to stream on your phone. But what I do remember, I mean, it was great. Games against Liverpool are always sort of fairly high octane, and for him to volley it, and I feel like there was a little caress of the bar on the way in, which always seems to add value to a goal as well, which I quite like. Really good.
I must admit, I can't remember it. I mustn't have been there. Chris, do you know the goal?
I was there.
What was the score at the time?
I can't remember.
I think that was the goal that took us to 2-0. I could be wrong on that because, again, I was in a bit of a weird mental state at the time. But, the game ended 2-0. The game ended 2-0.
So that's interesting. He raises the point that we argue about the Brentford goal last season, Reece Nelson. It felt like it could be a title, not winning.
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth, yeah. It felt like it could be a title, not winning, but title deciding, title securing moment.
Well, that's how it felt at the time. And we've talked about this, haven't we? Don't let it diminish your enjoyment of it because of that.
So that's an interesting one. We put a poll out. Steph, you put a poll out as well for people to vote, and we will cover the results of that poll in a few moments. But what other contributions did you get? What other goals were cited or put forward?
Okay, so next one's from Andrew Allen. He is the deputy editor of Arseblog Online and also the editor of the Arsenal Collective, which is a really good website where Arsenal fans can submit a report, their favourite goal, first time watching the team and things like that, which is a really nice kind of time capsule, I suppose, for different fans' experiences. He actually wrote us quite a long sort of story because he went for something a bit alternative. So I'll just read out what he's put. He said, "There's a lot to choose from. I'm guessing a lot of people have chosen Reiss Nelson last season and Danny Welbeck versus Leicester in 2016. So I've tried to come up with a different stoppage time winner. And boy, has he. Thomas Vermaelen, 2012 versus Newcastle United." He says, chasing down Spurs in the race for fourth, Arsenal endured a horribly frustrating night at the Emirates as Newcastle took the lead and then held firm after our equaliser. The angst on the terraces was compounded by Tim Krul constantly time-wasting, which left everybody seething. The Dutchman probably thought he'd done enough for a point with his side in possession in the 5th minute of stoppage time, but Arsenal stole the ball and worked one last chance. Vermaelen, who'd had 2 great efforts cleared not long before, charged through the middle of the pitch and time seemed to stop still as Walcott cross from the right dropped at his feet and he swept home from close range. The Emirates went mental and Van Persie hilariously made a point of giving some back to Krul. Those 3 points, coming not long after the first 5-2 over Spurs, proved to be vital in securing a 3rd place finish. Now, again, that's a goal I'd forgotten about, but revisiting it, it's interesting that those tense moments in some of the goals can really stand out. And, you know, to then pip Spurs to 4th place is it's just a delight. So thanks, Andrew, for that.
I think I must have slept somewhere between 2012 and 2013 because I don't remember this one either.
Oh, I remember being at the game and just being the most frustrated I think I'd ever been because of Tim Krul's time wasting and just hurling abuse that darkened my soul.
And it's funny about Newcastle. I'd always thought my view of Newcastle had changed just in the last couple of years since they've turned into this behemoth. Nope.
Nope.
That's
always frustrated.
Decade ago, same thing.
Always frustrated. It's interesting. It's funny where the mind goes and where the memory takes you when you actually kind of ask it to throw up a favourite moment from the Emirates era. You go to all sorts of different places. So that's really interesting one. I like that one. Question 2 on the quiz.
Ooh. Pen at the ready.
So, how many goals did we score in our highest scoring season, which was 2017-18? How many goals did we score in our highest scoring season, 27-18, from 30 games? I can't remember what the options I put online were, so I'm not giving you any options. You just got to pick a number now.
Oh, jeez.
Do you want me to give you the options? Was it 72, 78, 82, or 88?
So, and that's from 30 games.
30 games at the Emirates. So there's a couple of cup runs in there, isn't there?
Okay, that's 2 questions down.
2 down.
8 to go. Back to the contributions. So just to remind people, what are the 3 goals you listed on the poll that you put out?
Well, I listed 3, and then there was the option to say other as well. So the 3 in the poll were Wilshere's team goal against Norwich, Giroud's scorpion kick, and Henry's comeback goal against Leeds. But there was actually quite a prominent goal that was mentioned in the comments, which might have made the top 3 and kicked one of those other ones out.
So we'll come to the top 3. Back to the alternative goals, I guess. The other suggestions, and I think you had a little chat with Gunnerblog.
Yeah, he got in touch. So that's James McNicholas, of the Athletics Arsenal podcast Handbrake Off, and obviously major contributor to Arsblog and the Arsblog podcast. It just can't escape that feeling from last season, which I know you agree with, Chris. He said, I'd say Reiss Nelson versus Bournemouth for the stakes, the drama. Never seen anything like it. And I must admit, in my time of having a season ticket at Arsenal, which has only been about 7 or 8 years now, I tend to agree. I think I've never seen anything. The place just exploded. It was unreal. So late, so important at the time.
No, but it was. I think you'd struggle to find a parallel for that goal, a match for that goal. I don't know.
Well, on pure stakes and sense of importance, the Rice goal against United could turn out to be as enjoyable for the same reasons, in that the stakes felt, and my kind of white noisometer that hit the red for the Nelson goal. For those who don't know, it was my reference to the sound, and I've been going to the Emirates since it was built, and I've never heard a sound quite like it. When Reiss Nelson scored, the noise ceased to be a kind of human noise of a crowd. It became a kind of white noise. It was so intense, it just kind of distorted your brain. And we got that noise again with the Rice goal.
And the thing about the Nelson goal is, it's a bloody good goal. Like, with his weaker foot, he takes his time. I thought he was going to rush it, and he didn't. He just made sure he got a really good connection, and it went through a sea of bodies, because Bournemouth were defending for their lives, and won us the game in the 97th minute. And then there's all the brilliant stuff about the celebrations that went round the world, let alone on the pitch. Every player's on his knees. Saliba goes off for a wander on his own. Ramsdale's the first player on the scene to celebrate. Arteta ends up with a child out of the crowd. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, he celebrated with the child before thinking, hang on, the child shouldn't be
There's a
here.
child.
Who is the child? Where is the child's owner?
It was so good.
Right, question 3.
Ooh.
So this is the third one that went out on the socials.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I have got the options for this one.
Good.
How many different players have scored these goals? So excluding own goals. So how many different players have scored those 1,000 goals? And I gave 3 options this time: 89, 99, 109. So how many players? Was it 89 players, 99 players, or 109 players? That's your third question. So have you got another contribution from someone online?
Yep, this is from Dave Seeger. He's a massive Arsenal fan and also an author. He's written a few books about Arsenal. His current book that is out, he's done with Poorly Drawn Arsenal on Twitter, who's illustrated the book. It's called From Double Double to Invincible, about the Invincible period. So that's out now. Also want to flag up, Dave's currently doing a 60 miles runs across November for the Brains Trust. So if you head to his Twitter page or his Instagram, you can see his links to his GoFundMe page. So all the best with that, Dave. He said, a while ago, I was asked for a goal that could be made into graphic art. The obvious was the Wilshire goal, so that's the team goal against Norwich, but it had been done, so I suggested a particular favourite of mine. He said the Rosicky goal that started and finished with him, to put us 3-2 up in the North London derby that finished 5-2 in February 2012. Now, that's an interesting choice because, a bit like our memories are woolly on some of the other choices, because it's also individual, isn't it, on these chosen goals. But everyone remembers the 5-2s, but they were so, chaotic and eventful that some of the individual goals don't necessarily sort of stand out. But that Rosicky goal, I've had a look back since. It's an absolutely beautiful goal. And I'd forgotten how graceful Rosicky was as a footballer. Like he was at once both looks really busy on the football pitch, but also glided as well. He's just absolutely fantastic player.
Little Mozart.
Yeah, little Mozart. It's funny because that's another goal from 2012, so I obviously don't remember it.
Were you going through some stuff at the time?
I must have been. The Rosicky goal I do remember against Spurs occurred at White Hart Lane. It was like in the 4th minute of the match, and the game ended 1-0, and that was a superb strike as well. Okay, question 4. How many goals have we conceded in those games? Shall I give you some options?
No. If you want to do we can do a closest.
Closest to, yes, obviously. Closest to. Point. So you obviously don't know how many games because I haven't given you the answer to that question
yet. But in that time, we've scored 1,000 goals. How
many goals have we conceded in those games? That's 4 questions down, 6 to go. Are we on to the poll? Are we on to the countdown, the poll?
We are, right. We got into the hundreds. We had hundreds of votes.
We got into the hundreds. So you're going to do a little countdown, aren't you, Steph?
I'm going to do a countdown. Yep. Are you ready for this, pot pickers? So in at 3 was the goal that appeared in the comments. So Giroud's scorpion kick didn't make it, which gives you a clue as to the top 2. But yeah, and I think Giroud's scorpion kick is like, yes, it's audacious. And I remember being there and just full of wonder. And we were like, can't believe he's done that. But there wasn't a huge amount of context around it.
Hadn't hadn't a Man United player done it the week before?
Mkhitaryan had done it as something very similar the week before, yeah. So that, also is another reason it sort of lost a shine a bit. But the goal in at number 3 is pretty much all about context. So it's the Arshavin goal against Barcelona, February 2011. And we also had a contributor, comedian Ian Stone, who's also on the Tuesday Club podcast and the Athletics Arsenal podcast, Handbrake Off. He said that's his favourite goal at the Emirates. It was because it was just such an amazing moment. And it absolutely was. The commentary talks about, Wenger's philosophy coming to bear, and even Barcelona can't stop it. Oh, it's just brilliant.
I remember the commentator's voice kind of cracking a little bit when he says Arshavin.
Arshavin!
It was a bit Aguero, wasn't it?
It's a bit
Aguero. It's a bit Aguero, yeah.
It was. I've got someone who also said that goal. She wore. He sells some wicked Arsenal stuff online, really cool stuff. Check him out on Twitter. And all he wrote was, my favourite is that winner versus Barcelona. What a goal, what a game. I think that sums it all up.
I think there's something to be said in, like, any Arsenal fan, you've just got to say that winner against Barcelona and everyone knows which goal you mean, which must elevate it massively. A bit like, it's kind of, stuck with him now, but if anyone says Reece Nelson goal, they're going to know exactly which one you're talking about. So, yeah, that Arshavin goal is iconic.
Not a bad, Reece Nelson doesn't need to do anything else in his footballing career. Now, of course, he wants to, and I hope he does for sure, but it's going to be some achievement to outdo that moment against Bournemouth. 5th question, before you get on to number 2. Okay, of our current squad, who has the most and how many? So, in our current squad...
Goals at the Emirates.
It's a 2-parter, yeah. In our current squad, it's a 2-parter. Who has the most goals and how many? So this silence will be filled by you guys at home thinking as well.
It's going to be El Neni, isn't it? It's going to be El Neni. He's because he's been there the longest.
If it is El Neni, you've got to sing his song.
Oh, in the squad? It's not a trick question. It's not Arteta, is it?
No, it's in the current squad. And stop sharing your thoughts.
Sorry. Yeah, it's a quiz, isn't it? Yeah. This is why I'm not on pub quiz teams.
I know it, everyone.
Yeah.
Or play poker, yeah. Go on then, Steph. Number 2. Okay. Who's in at number 2?
In at number 2, it's one for all of our hearts. In at number 2 is Henry's comeback goal against Leeds in January 2012. Oh, you see, it's that noise. It's that not. Oh.
Did you say 2012?
Just warm, fuzzy feeling, isn't it?
Please tell me you can remember that.
I was there for this one, so I do recall it. Yes. Again, I just want to remind you, in relation to that goal, the Rest is Football podcast with who is it? Is it Lineker and Micah Richards and
Shearer.
And they had Henry on quite recently. They had him on, and like this guy Henry, like one of the greatest ever strikers that's ever played the game. We were lucky enough to have him for X number of years. He won absolutely everything in the game, including like 5 or 6 trophies in one season at Barcelona. The guy has reached the pinnacle and stayed at the pinnacle for many, many, many years. And they asked him what his favourite goal was. And this is the goal he said. This is the goal he listed. He put forward as his favourite goal. And he looked at Alan Shearer at the time and he said, I felt for the first time what you must have felt every single time you scored, scoring for my club. I loved it. I got all emotional when I heard him say that. He referred to Arsenal as my club. And he says the first time he scored as a fan. He'd scored as a player before, and this was the first time he scored as a fan. And it was your archetypal Henry goal. Like kind of just passed it into the far corner. Do you remember who passed in the ball?
Song.
I do, only because I know the commentary. And the commentary is brilliant because it's in 2 parts. Everyone famously remembers the second part, I think, a bit more, where the commentator said, he may be cast in bronze, but he's still capable of producing truly golden moments, which is a great poetic line. But I like the short, almost Barry Davies style punch of the first bit, where it's literally just name, something goal, then it's song, Henry, chance, goal. And there's just something brilliant about that. It's so minimal.
And he said that he was nearly in tears by the time he got to Wenger, because he ran down the touchline, didn't he?
Well, it's the wildest he'd ever celebrated.
I was there with my daughter, and I was thinking, she's never seen her dad cry. This might change in the next 30 seconds. It was like that. Right, so number one, but hang on. Pause. Don't want your number one just yet. We want question number 6, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who is the overall top scorer for us at the Emirates with 64 goals?
Okay.
Just for the listeners, the pain etched on Stef and Chris's faces is sight to behold.
It's interesting, isn't it?
So who is the overall top scorer for us at the Emirates?
How many goals?
64.
I've gone with this, but I'm not confident at all.
Okay, we're down to number 1 on the poll, but let's take a little break before we reveal the most favourite Arsenal goal at the Emirates as voted by our thousands of listeners. So we'll take a little break. Back in a minute. Welcome back to the North Bank podcast, where we're in the middle of our countdown of favourite Arsenal goal at the Emirates. Number 3, we had Arshavin versus Barca. Number 2, we had kind of Henry's homecoming goal, if you like. Steph, number 1, shock us.
Well, it's not so much of a shocker, but it is an absolutely beautiful goal. Thanks, producer Chris.
Yes, it's all right.
And the winner is... it's Jack Wilshere's goal against Norwich. The team goal. The peak Wenger goal, as a few people have described it. It's the one that most Arsenal fans go to. Speaking of which, a few people did get in touch. They felt like they couldn't just vote. They had to sort of tell us something about it as well. So one person that got in touch is ex-Arsenal striker and now Hendon FC manager Ian Allinson, who, despite being a bit before my time, I've, heard many a good tale about.
He's responsible for one of the most iconic goals away from Arsenal.
I was there.
Were you at White Hart Lane?
I was, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Did you hear the Tannoy announcement at half-time? Excellent.
So for those younger viewers, before we get onto the Wilshere goal, what's the Ian Allison?
We were 1-0 down after the first leg and 1-0 down at half-time. So we were 2-0 down on aggregate. It's the League Cup semi-final.
That's right.
Second leg at White Hart Lane. So Spurs, they were in the fight. They were at Wembley.
Yeah, so they thought. And the Tannoy came on at half-time and said, in order to book your tickets for Wembley, you call this number or reach out to the blah, blah, blah. And we're all looking at each other thinking, you bastards,
Was George Graham manager?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the easiest half-time talk.
He said that.
Yeah.
He's ever done.
And Ian popped up with, and I can't remember, but I think Rocastle and Ian Allinson got the 2 goals, didn't they?
In the last 10, 15 minutes, yeah.
Wow.
And because it was away goals counted, we went through on away goals, 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
It was, yeah. I mean, I can see the 2 goals clear as day as well. It was an evening kickoff, so I can see them as clear as evening kickoff.
But you can't remember any goals from 2012.
2012, I'm out.
But 1987, you're all over it.
Up there, yeah. I think that's an early onset something, isn't it?
Don't.
Well, anyway, Ian got in touch, bless him, and he said, yep, Jack Wilshere's goal versus Norwich. 100 passes and a nonchalant finish. Unbelievable goal.
Mm-hmm.
So, game recognises game there. Another person that got in touch is another former player, Adrian Clarke. He's obviously ex-Arsenal player, now commentator, pundit, analyst for Arsenal on match days quite often, and at The Athletic as well. And he said Wilshere v Norwich is his favourite. It was so beautiful to watch, artistically brilliant, and trademark Wenger. So I think a lot of people were citing that it was a goal as much in the manager's kind of vision.
Image. Yeah.
An image as much
Peak
as
Wenger.
any kind of individual brilliance. And it is built all around that team goal, is it? It's fantastic. I think I'm going to have to give props, though, because Football London journalist and host of the Gunnerblog TV podcasts, Tom Canton, got in touch, and he's written a beautiful bit of copy, which I think describes the goal brilliantly. He said, Jack Wilshere versus Norwich City. When you think of Arsenal, you think of slick passing, youth promotion, great goals, teamwork, French, connections, and knee-slide celebrations. Jack Wilshere's goal against Norwich City has the lot. Olivier Giroud, with help from Santi Cazorla, creating a work of art alongside Wilshere to fool all the defenders in a goal which, by today's standards, would have almost certainly been ruined by 27 minutes of assessment from VAR officials, desperately trying to find a way to rule it out. Anyway, he says, when I think of Arsenal, I think of this goal. And I think that's absolutely right. That's brilliant, Tom. Thank you.
And he said that his reference to VAR as well really kind of made me pause and think. And I think I'm going to promise myself that I'm going to celebrate every Arsenal goal as if it will stand. Whereas I think over the last 18 months, slowly but surely, I've been not celebrating the goal because I've been just waiting for something to be called wrong with it. And I think, do you know what? It's just the whole point of football is that moment, that goal, the ball hits the back of the net, that release, that elation, that that's what we've been. The arc of frustration for 20 minutes has been pulling the defenders all which way, and it's created that space, and we've got that goal. That's it. That's the release. That's what it's all about. So I'm going to thank you, Tom. I'm going to celebrate an Arsenal goal like I used to from now on. I think it's overdue.
And what a goal it was. It wasn't one of those ones. It didn't have the explosive nature of Nelson or, Welbeck against Leicester, but just the beauty of it. Total football, players involved, one-touch passing, just, and as poor as Norwich might be, no team could handle that. And the quality of the players involved.
There was one, not at the Emirates, but remember a few seasons back at Fulham.
Yeah, under Emery.
An incredible sequence of play, which had
Ramsey?
even more kind of... Ramsey finished it, even more elaborate kind of... knitting together with little kind of back heels and headers, and it's one in more than 1,000 when that comes off. Well, 1 in 1,000 exactly in this case.
So I thought you were saying.
Yeah, I was kind of getting there. Yeah.
And it's the goal that no matter what team you support, you just doff your cap to. It's unanimous. Everyone.
I remember because I was there for that goal as well, and just the sense of, like you said, Steph, it wasn't the kind of raucous kind of celebration from the crowd. It was more of a sort of sit back with your beer and just go, oh. Everyone's kind of looking at each other going, oh, yeah. Come here, let me top you up. Oh,
simply marvellous.
Come on, have another peanut. It was that kind of feeling of appreciation. It was a sunny day and everything came together.
And I think that sort of tells you about the quality of the goal, given that most other people have chosen one for that emotional or contextual goal, whereas this just sits above because it's
pure
so
football.
High in quality.
Beautiful.
Beautiful
artistry,
football.
yeah.
It's art. It's football. When football becomes art, this is why I always have conversations with people about, why do you like football? Because when it's done well, it's beautiful. It's brilliant.
Stop having conversations with stupid.
It's not necessarily stupid. It's just people who don't like football.
on first viewing of that goal, when you break it down, there does appear to be, and I say appear to be, a flick from a Norwich defender going through to the final pass, and you have to watch it a few times to appreciate that it wasn't. It was in fact Wilshere on his way through to beat the offside trap and get the return ball from Giroud. But it does look like it could be a defender, which would mar it, of course. But it wasn't.
And I'm delighted it was Wilshere that got it, because his career was just so hampered by injury, and it's nice that he gets, because he was one talented footballer, and it's just nice that he's got that goal, he's got something tangible by which all Arsenal fans can remember him by, and not a bad, again, like Reece Nelson, not a bad sign off to have, frustrating as his career panned out, but yeah.
Do we need a reminder of the commentary from this goal?
Oh, that would be good.
Yeah, have you got the commentary? Fantastic. Let's hear it.
Well, you know how we've said, as a producer, I always have to be careful about copyright infringement and not playing anything out.
How much does this cost us?
Well, I've sort of managed to work around, and I managed to get my 9-year-old daughter to record the commentary. So
saving us money.
Here it is.
Wilshere neatly stepping away from Fur. It's Kieran Gibbs. Santi Cazorla with the chance to drive at Norwich here. Jack Wilshere. Cazorla. Giroud. Giroud again. Jack Wilshere. It's stunning from Arsenal. Beautiful, beautiful football.
There you go.
That's
Chris, that is amazing.
Don't, it's Gaia. It's my little one.
Well done, Gaia.
Superb.
I
She
think
got
a
into
career in
that.
commentary.
Well,
is
she had
coming
to
her
do
way.
it about 30 times, and I was...
Don't ruin the magic.
She wanted to go out and play, and I didn't feed her for the entire evening until she'd recorded it.
Okay,
But she's done
now
it,
child
so-
services might be involved.
Let's show some love for Gaia,
That was
please.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
She gave it
Fantastic.
some welly. That was brilliant.
That's a 10 out of 10 from me. Wonderful.
Again, I love that commentary when it's just name, goal. Oh, just something about that makes,
We're just
makes
so
the hairs
rapid.
on the back of my neck stand up.
Quick. There was no time
Yeah.
for filler. It was just perfection on the pitch.
Giroud again.
Right, that's lovely.
Oh,
So that's
beautiful.
that's the top three as voted by people online. I think it's time for another quiz question. Question 7. Now, question 7 was reliant upon the answer to question 6 already being revealed, which I haven't done. So I've had to reword question 7 a little bit. So question 7 reads, only 4 players have reached the half century. Name them. The question was, blank is one of only 4 players, name the other 3. So what I'm looking for are the 4 players to have reached a half century of goals at the Emirates for Arsenal.
I've gone route 1 with strikers, and I bet there's a midfielder in there.
Shall I give you an 8th question while we're here?
Yeah, why not?
Go on, him.
No. Oh, this is a tough one. This is probably a
Like
bit
the others have been really easy.
This is a tough
Ollie.
one.
Well, I can see the answers, so they're all easy to me.
How could they not get that?
Okay. No visiting player has ever scored a hat-trick. I didn't know that, but no visiting player has ever scored a hat-trick at the Emirates. But 11 Arsenal players have. Name any 3 of the 11.
Who've got hat tricks at the Emirates?
Yeah. I think the reason I went for this is because there are a couple of players you would never, ever have thought.
Okay.
Right, there's 2 more questions, but we'll what are we on to next? Oh, Steph, yeah, your favourite category, Spurs goals at the Emirates.
I must admit, guy, like knowing we were going to do this episode and looking back over some of these goals, watching some of the Arsenal goals against Spurs at the Emirates has just put me in a good mood for the whole weekend.
You've done little else.
I've just felt so warm and cozy and just happy looking back at some of these because it was just a great trip down memory lane. So I'm kind of doing it in chronological order, and obviously feel free to chip in where you can. And these aren't necessarily like the best, most technical goals. They're just, they're iconic in some form or another. And this is one that I might have chosen personally because it's Bentner's header after he'd just come on as a substitute against Spurs, obviously. We won 2-1 in the game. He scores the winner. It was on the 22nd of December in 2007. He'd just come on for a buoy. Arsenal had a corner. So, one is thinking that Wenger's going, right, chuck on the big man. And he goes in and he scores straight from Fabregas's corner. And he leaps so high and nods it in. And then it was just incredible.
That has to be one of the quickest ever Premier League goals, like
As a sub.
Yeah.
as a sub, yeah.
It has to be. He just
Unless
literally
someone
ran
came on.
over.
You can't get any quicker, really,
Well,
from...
someone came on for a penalty, I guess.
Yeah.
That would be about the only way
But
to
even
beat
then,
that.
literally the time from him stepping across the white line onto the pitch, he literally just goes in a diagonal line to the penalty box. Fabregas
doesn't
takes
stop,
the corner and he nods it in. It's beautiful. After Spurs had taken the lead as well and just, we crushed their spirit a little bit. That is a running theme throughout these goals, by the way. Spurs' spirit being crushed.
Well, yes,
which,
Spurs taking the lead as well. That
is
seems
why.
to have happened quite a lot.
Yeah.
The Bakary Sagna header reminds me in the similar way that we were losing and
was
he
the
came in with a
crucial one,
thumping header. It was like, sod that, I'm not having this.
Yep.
Bang. And
Beautiful.
run back. You know, that thing where they pick the ball out of the net as if to say, no time for celebrating.
No, tell that to Giroud. Chris, this is one I know you've mentioned before. This is Cesc Fabregas' solo goal when we beat Tottenham 3-0 in October 2009. Van Persie had just scored the opener in the game just before half-time. And what I didn't remember about this, because I wasn't at the game, this is way before my season ticket again, like the TV pictures hadn't caught up.
They missed
They're showing the replay, and they only cut to it literally as Fabregas is striking the ball because he's pinched the ball from their kickoff, and then he's putting the ball in the back of the net, and then it just explodes. What are your memories of it?
Oh, well, I was there, and just laughter as well as celebration, in that way that when Alexis Sanchez scored a ripper against United, I remember, and I kind of laughed as well as cheered at that because it was audacious and brilliant. And the way that Fabregas just stole in and took advantage of their half asleep midfield, we were just laughing and knew that was it, game over.
I think the one thing there was lots of things that I noticed looking back, but for me, you know, you'll have your players of your generation. You know, it might be Liam Brady or you know, but Bergkamp probably sits there for most of us in a sense. But Fabregas was just an incredible player over that period. You know, from when he came into the team as a 16-year-old. Yeah, all right, he left under a little bit of a cloud, or maybe didn't return under a little bit of a cloud, I think probably more.
That's because of how he left.
I know. And it absolutely spoils it, I know. But
stubbornness, wasn't it?
What a player. What a player. And I think it's one of those, you know, there'll be all sorts of lists that go round about players in the Premier League and maybe, you know, best forwards, attackers, defenders, midfielders or whatever. And I wonder if he would be overlooked more than he should be. And don't get me wrong, there's some great midfield players in the Premier League, but he really was a superstar.
He comes under the what-if category of players. Had he been part of a more successful side, then he would doubtless be part of the kind of Premiership all-time 11.
Well, he won a lot at Chelsea, didn't he? He won the league at Chelsea.
Yeah, but it's devalued because it's at Chelsea.
And also, I don't think he wasn't as integral, I don't think, at Chelsea. He didn't lead the team, did he, in the way that he did the Arsenal?
Oh, he led. And that's the thing. He led the team. He led with his pressing, his passing.
At
his
about
tactic,
18 as well.
Everything.
That's the amazing thing. He was about 18 and he was clearly our best player.
Right, so next on the Spurs list actually goes back to Dave Seeger's choice. He included the Rosicky team goal that Rosicky started and then finished. But when I looked back at that, what preceded the Rosicky goal was an absolute screamer from Van Persie. Like, it was from just outside the penalty area, but very central. And he bent it around. I think it was Gomez in goal for Spurs at the time. And it's absolute perler of a goal. Very typical Van Persie. Absolutely great. And of course, was a game that ended 5-2, which those two 5-2s happened. I mean, I don't know. The reason I'm so obsessed with narrative is because wherever you look at Arsenal's history, there is narrative. You know, we talked about the Ian Allinson goal at Spurs with the whole Tannoy incident. You know, there are some clubs who might only have that sort of incident in their history, just that one thing. But we've got so much. It's like, and stuff that crosses beyond being, oh yeah, if you're a fan of that club, of course you know about that. Arsenal have stuff that's iconic to the wider world, and beating our local rivals 5-2 in successive games, all right, in different seasons, is just incredible.
Same calendar year.
Same calendar year. And the whole, it's happened again. Just
2012, so I can't obviously remember any of it. So,
well, it was just, I mean, and that leads me on to the next one, because the next one is from the next 5-2. Because I wasn't at the first one, but I was at the second one. And from the moment, because they took the lead, and from the moment Adebayor got sent off, well, it was just, I think I've never experienced such a partisan crowd at the Emirates. Like, it was It was fierce. Everyone's blood was up. And this was when I had my seat. I was up in the gods somewhere. Like, I was watching it literally through binoculars and like oxygen support. I was so high up. But even up there, everyone was just boiling with like rage and determination, and then eventually joy and just almost like hysteria. It was just great.
I thought the crowd was responsible for Adebayor's kind of red mist. I think,
yeah,
just tying in with what you were saying there, I think we got inside his head, and he just
totally.
What a ridiculous! Were they 1-0 up or 2-0 up at the time when he got sent off?
It might have been 1. It could have been 2. To be honest, yeah. It was just bizarre. Anyway, the goal I picked out, the finish itself is quite simple. Giroud pokes home a cross. But Cazorla in the build-up, basically the ball is, we're doing that arc of frustration thing on the penalty area. Tottenham get a foot in, but then Cazorla picks up the spare ball and is fouled. But he doesn't go down, he persists. And then he drives past a player and another player, and then he crosses. And there was just something about Cazorla in that moment where it was just so, I don't know, belligerent of him and yet skillful as well. And what I really picked up on in the celebration is Giroud's obviously celebrating by himself because it's all about him and he's doing this arrow celebration or whatever. Arteta, who was in the team at the time, went up to Cazorla. He went off to Cazorla and celebrated with Cazorla. He knew Cazorla made that goal. That goal was all about Cazorla at that point.
What did he say to him, do you think?
Well, he said, let's fucking go, guys.
Come back and be one of my coaches in 10 years when I'm running the club.
In Finsbury Park.
Yeah. We will play with Ivan Toney.
That will make no sense to anybody who hasn't listened to the previous podcast.
Never
You have to back listen to our awful impressions.
Before you go on, here's the final 2 quiz questions.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Which visiting team has conceded the most at the Emirates? Which visiting team has conceded the most at the Emirates? Do you want to know how many goals from how many games?
Yeah.
Go on then.
52 goals from 22 games.
22 games. So they've been in the Prem for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And the final question, who scored our 500th goal at the Emirates?
Okay.
So there's my 10 questions. In about 10 minutes, hopefully, I'll go through the answers. Right, so you've got another couple of Spurs-related goals too.
Yeah. So the next one is a really personal one for me because I think it's the year before I get my season ticket, so I'm still getting my tickets for a supporters club. We're playing Tottenham in the 3rd round of the FA Cup. They've obviously got the extra sort of allocation of fans and have got most of the sort of lower clock end. But where our supporters club have got the tickets is right next to the Spurs fans. And then there's the whole hysteria. Tim Sherwood's back at Tottenham in the dugout and he is rubbish. And we're playing him in the cup and the atmosphere was electric. I felt until perhaps Nelson last season, I don't think I'd witnessed a louder crowd at the Emirates. It was so noisy. And for me, it's the goal where Spurs are passing on the halfway line across their back 4. And Danny Rose just dwells on the ball a little bit too long. And Rosicky goes in and pinches the ball. And then he dribbles half of the entirety of their half and then just dinks it over Lloris. Oh, to put us 2-0 up. It's absolutely brilliant. And then the end where we were in the clock end next to the Spurs fan was just bedlam. And I've never been in such a position where there was such a contrast of fans because the Arsenal fans are everywhere. They're on seats, they're jumping about, they're on people's shoulders, and the Spurs fans are just like statues, just stony silence
Staring
next
ahead.
to us, trying not to look. Yeah, face forward, don't make eye contact. Yeah, don't look at them. Don't even give them the satisfaction. It was so beautiful because it was just calamitous from then. Oh, what a goal that was.
And then your next one.
Well, my next one's got a similar thing. Yeah, it's Torreira capping the comeback against Spurs when we beat them 4-2. And I think, again, the goal itself is great. It's a nice, tidy finish, well-worked goal from Arsenal, but it's all about the context. Eric Dyer shushed us. and they got a penalty for nothing. I went back and watched. I was incensed at the time. I was incensed all over again watching it. Nothing. Heung-min Son, one of the worst divers. You know, he gets so much praise and no one talks about how light on his feet he is. It's like Sadio Mane at Liverpool. He goes down for nothing and Kane scores and they're leading 2-1 and Dyer's shushing us. There's a melee off the bench. Ramsey gets involved. But then a double substitution. Ramsey and Lacazette come on and they turn it around and Torreira scores, takes his top off, knee slides in front of us and we go mad. Brilliant goal.
Doesn't Dyer make a mistake as well? And
probably it's Eric Dyer.
Ramsey shushes him.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, Rambo. Oh, love Aaron Ramsey.
And I see you've got a final Spurs goal.
I have. I again forgot how good this goal was. So we're playing Spurs last season and, you know, we're easily on top. And it should be said, actually, I think of all the iterations of Spurs that I've seen, that performance they put in at our place last season was the worst I've seen. It was truly dreadful.
Under Conte,
yeah, it must have been, yeah. That really, really was just awful. But we're on top and we're knocking the ball about. And actually, we're not knocking it about with any kind of zip. But Ben White knocks it inside, lays it off to Partey, who whacks it with the side of his foot and it just curls past Lloris right into the top bins. And it was a thunderous shot, but he didn't put his laces through it. It was just like side foot, pow. And it was just absolutely mega. And it also then sparked a memory because I was at the Spurs stadium when we beat them towards the end of last season. And he tried the same again. He was in exactly and hit the bar. And oh my God, if that had gone in and we'd had that kind of, you know, deja vu, that would have been something. I mean, we beat them and it was absolutely magical. And Martinelli puts his, you know, scarf on the camera and all that kind of thing. But yeah, Partey from distance. Oh, what a goal that was. That was just last year.
Didn't he score a similar goal in a game quite close to that Spurs game as well? It had become his kind of goal, that kind of side foot ping into the kind of curl into outside the post and then back in again.
It's funny, isn't it? You get those patterns of play and those positions that players find themselves in, you know, on repeated times that shows you, you know, the work they must put into their
previous 30 attempts had ended up in the stands.
Yes.
Yeah, there is.
So by the law of averages, he was going to get it right a couple of times.
Absolutely.
Okay, well that's the Spurs segment done. Let's go.
Don't
through
you feel
the answers.
happier now? Don't you feel happier?
It's lovely just sitting back and listening to it because everyone will have their favourites, as we've said. You know, it's just lovely to reminisce.
Okay, have you got your quiz answers to hand?
I have.
Here's your 10 answers then. So question 1, how many games did it take to reach the 1,000th goal? What'd you put down, Steph?
I put 574.
Chris?
474.
Is the right answer.
Thank you. I didn't look it up.
Right. We have to trust you on that. Okay, 1 up for Chris. Question 2 then, how many goals did we score in our highest scoring season 2017-18 from 30 games, Steph?
82.
Chris?
88.
78.
Oh,
is the right answer.
I was being optimistic. Okay.
So you're both out on that one.
I thought I was being optimistic.
Question 3. How many different players scored those goals, excluding own goals? Steph?
109.
Chris?
Yeah, I got 109 as well.
No, Zinchenko was the 99th player to score at the Emirates.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So you're still 1 up, Chris.
I got nothing. 1-0 to the producer, Chris.
I sense an equaliser around the corner.
How many goals have we conceded in these games, Steph?
So this is the closest one, isn't it?
Closest to. Go on.
I just did ballpark figure. I said 600.
Chris, are you less than that?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, you've won then.
What?
Well, because it's
490. I put
407 is the answer.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So you're 2 up, Chris.
Okay.
Where are we?
Game's gone.
Of our current squad, who has the most and how many, Steph?
I said Saka with 30.
Chris?
Oh, I've got Nketiah, 28.
Right, you're right with Eddie.
What? No. No way.
And he has 25.
Yeah, I'm not doing badly here, am I?
No,
This is
you're not.
remarkable.
You're 3 up.
Eddie and Kessie.
Steph looks a gog at that. That's like, he's like, what?
Well,
Yeah.
he's been in the first team longer than Saka, hasn't he?
Oh,
In
yeah,
and
he
out,
only scores
but-
at home, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing, yeah.
And he's had a couple of League Cup games, hasn't
I was
he?
going to say he scored a few sort of flat track bully type games.
God, yeah. Well,
So, question 6. There's still time, Steph. Not a lot, but there is.
3-0 up at half time. I'm going to have to do a Newcastle.
It's a game of 2 halves. Question 6. Who is the overall top scorer at the Emirates with 64? Steph.
I said Van Persie.
So did I.
Yeah, and I that is the right answer.
Oh, right. Yay, I'm off the mark.
And I just want to spit after it though, because a lot of those goals you mentioned, Van
He had
Persie,
to be.
I can't. His reputation is completely tarnished because of where he went and what happened after he left. No time for him at all, and I'm annoyed with myself. I've included a question that has him as the answer, and the
That
sooner
volley
one of our
against
players
Everton.
gets above 64 and knocks him off that top spot, the better.
Well,
Sorry.
the next one is Eddie, so
Yeah.
This is true.
you want him to stay.
So this is the follow-up question to that was reliant upon that answer, and it was only 4 players have reached the half century. Who are the other 3? So Van Persie's one. You can't have that. I want the other 3, Steph.
Well, I'm sure I've got this
I'm
wrong.
going to give you a mark for each one.
I've got Fabregas,
No,
Adebayor,
no,
and Walcott.
yes.
Walcott. Ugh,
Chris.
okay.
Yeah. Do you know what? I've only got RVP, Walcott and Adebayor. I kind of ran out of time to write any more down. So
Okay, so you get 1 each there.
give us a clue then. Who was the 4th?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So Aubameyang has 52, Giroud 53, Theo 56, and Van Persie 64.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
question 8. No visiting player has ever scored a hat-trick, but 11 Arsenal players have. We wanted 3.
Well, I
Steph.
said Eddie because that's recent.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got 2.
He's got 2.
Yep.
Oh, for God's sake. Walcott.
He's got 3. He's got the most.
Nice. And Giroud.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yes.
Chris?
I've got Walcott, Adebayor and Eddie.
Yeah, 3. So the others were, okay, so in kind of descending order. Theo Walcott's got 3 hat-tricks. Eddie, Bentner and Van Persie 2 each. And then Adebayor, Giroud, Ozil, Ramsey, Carlos Vela,
Oh,
and Danny Welbeck.
League Cup
Carlos
specialist.
Vela against, someone in the league.
There were probably
Cup's
3
gotta
chips,
be.
3
Scunthorpe.
dinks probably.
Yeah.
Question 9. Now, the scores are at the moment are 8-5 in favour of Chris, so you're still in there. No, you can't win. Well, I don't know.
I
what
can't
the answers.
win. I've
Let's
lost.
see. Which visiting team has conceded most at the Emirates?
Well, for me, our most scoring games or the high scoring games are always either Spurs or Liverpool. So I just went, because it'd be funny, I went with Spurs.
Oh,
Chris.
I'd love to. I went Everton.
Right, Spurs.
Is it Spurs?
There's a reason I. Yeah,
I'm glad to be wrong there.
Had to
yeah.
be.
There's a reason I included the Spurs that question because it was Spurs. And the final question: who scored our 500th goal at the Emirates?
Well, it's good that I can't win off this because
Yeah.
obviously I know this
So,
one.
Chris,
How is
Chris,
it you know
Go on,
it?
Chris.
I've.
Because he's got a quiz for the milestones.
Oh, I see. Well, I've taken a
don't-
complete
Now gonna
punt
have to
because I had no idea, and I've
Wait.
gone Vermaelen.
Okay, there's a reason I asked the question. The answer's quite significant. Does that help you at all?
No, I mean I've given my
No.
answer. I'll just go.
Okay, Steph.
It's Mikel Arteta,
Ah, the boss.
Isn't that
the
nice?
boss. How lovely.
the boss. Scored our 500th and a manager now 1,000th.
Well done, Chris.
Love it.
You win 8. You win 8-7 there, Chris.
Excellent.
8-7.
Well done, me.
It's only fair. Well done, Chris.
Right, you've got your own little quiz though, haven't you, Steph?
I have. So, obviously, I've now taken out that milestone goal, the 500th one. But I did find out the other milestone goals. So what's going to happen with this quiz is I'm going to give you the number of the milestone that it actually is. I'm going to give you the date. and I'm going to give you the opposition. I'd like you to tell me and have a guess at the player that scored it. Okay, so it's quite a high tariff. It's quite
I'm
difficult.
not going to have a clue.
You're not going to have a clue, but I think, yeah, you'd be surprised. Here's the first one. So the milestone is the very first goal that Arsenal scored at the Emirates. It was on the 19th of August 2006. It was against Aston Villa.
Okay, I know this one.
Who was the scorer? Chris, you go first this time. Who's your guess?
Gilberto Silva.
And Holly?
Same.
Yep, Gilberto Silva, correct. Well done, guys. Okay, let's jump ahead to the 100th goal at the Emirates. Now, this was on the 26th of January 2008, and it was against Newcastle.
I don't know. Like,
stab in the dark. It's mainly about equating eras with players, I think, is going to be the best way to do it.
Can I not just call up the squads?
No.
On my phone? Because I can't even think of a player.
No.
2008 would be
2008. Don't help him.
Give me a midfielder
Chris,
in that
you're too
team.
nice. You're too nice.
Well, Fabregas.
You're Wenger's soft centre. That's what you are.
He is.
Yes, did not see it.
Okay, go on then.
Right, Holly, who do you think?
Samir Nasri.
You go Nasri. Chris?
Guess. I'm going to go Walnut.
Both wrong. It was Emmanuel Adebayor.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I didn't choose him because
2008.
he was a bit of a...
Yeah.
Well, Nasri, he's a likeable player.
Yeah.
Okay, jumping up now, the 200th goal at the Emirates, and this was the 4th of October, 2009, against Blackburn. So only a year later. Let's have you guess when you're ready, Chris.
RVP.
Okay, and Holly?
I don't even know if this player was in this squad, but Thomas Vermaelen.
Both incorrect. It was Theo Walcott.
Oh.
Okay, 300th goal was 12th of February, 2011. This time, 2011, and it was against Wolves.
This is coming up to the couple of years I slept.
Well, were you having children at this point? Did you have young children?
Yeah, I had a 6-year-old at this point.
Right. So, yeah, sleep deprivation, very much a part of your life.
I've written something down, but again, I've no idea.
Go on then.
I've gone for a midfielder, Flamini.
Okay. Chris?
I'm going to go RVP again.
Chris is right. Van Persie.
Well
done.
It's that stopped clock is right twice a day thing, isn't it? If I just keep saying...
I was wondering if you were going to make
RVP.
any second guesses on players. So, yeah, done.
I'm not putting him down for any answer ever.
No, we know. We know.
Most reviled player who is dead to me. Questions like that, he'll go down as, yeah.
Okay.
Right, on to our 400th goal, I should say. So this is 29th of December, 2012.
No, I'm out.
Against Newcastle. Right, have you got anything down?
I've got Walcott again.
Walcott, okay.
Oh, I put Theo as well.
You both put Theo. Wrong, it's Lucas Podolski.
Oh, Das Hammer.
Das Hammer, whose left foot traction engine.
Yeah.
Right, we know who the 500th goal scorer was. That was Arteta, because it was in Holly's quiz earlier. So we're going to jump ahead to the 600th goal, and we're going quite a bit later now. It is the 19th of October, 2016, and the opposition is Ludogorets this time.
Okay.
Ludogorets. Right, what are you going with, Holly?
Was he
Bit
at
more
the club
recent.
still? Giroud.
Okay, Chris?
Santi.
Oh, neither of you right. It's quite an unexpected one. It's Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Oh, the Ox.
Ludogorets.
Oh, well.
Okay, the 700th goal scorer at the Emirates took place on the 1st of April, 2018, and it was against Stoke City.
When did Alexis Sanchez leave?
Before that,
It was before that.
I think. Wasn't that Wenger's
Last season?
farewell tour?
Potentially, yeah.
Right, what do you got, Chris?
I've got Ramsey.
Okay.
I haven't got anything down.
You have to say something.
Literally, well, blank.
Brady.
Say a player.
Liam Brady, yeah.
No way, you can't say Liam Brady.
His homecoming.
It's only 5 years ago.
Oh, Iwobi.
Okay. Well, neither of you right. It's Aubameyang.
Oh, Bama. Okay.
All those goals that he scored. Right. The 800th goal at the Emirates was scored on the 6th of October 2019, and it was against Bournemouth. Now, I'm going to give you a clue on this one. 2019 is a defender. So 4 years ago, and it's a defender.
God, we had some ropey defenders 4 years ago.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's an interesting
I'll go with one of our ropey defenders.
Go on then. Who's your ropey defender then, Chris?
David Luiz.
Okay, thank you, Chris. And Holly?
Mustafi.
Ooh. One of you's right, and it is Chris. David Luiz. An unassailable lead now. 3-1. That's 2. You've won both quizzes. This is why he's the producer and he's in charge of things. And we just ramble on. Right, final one. I think this is a fascinating one. So think about this. Think about the dates and the opposition. So this
I've been thinking
is
about all of them.
Well, I know what you mean, but there's a correlation that you wouldn't expect. Our 900th goal was scored on the 21st of December, 2021, against Sunderland.
Cup game.
That was a very knowing.
I think Chris has checked them all online.
No, well, it's a cup game because they were...
That's it. They were in League One, I think. Or they still are. Yeah, League One. So it's definitely a cup game, which means there's going to be some rotation going on.
Yeah.
It's even harder for me. I've got to think of players who might not have been like...
I'll give you one little clue on this, that you should go youth, not rotation.
Shall I go first?
Go on then, Chris.
Saka.
Okay.
I thought about Saka. I put down Eddie.
Ooh, you're both wrong. Saka had come into the team before that under Emery. It's Charlie Patino.
Oh, blimey. He was about 14, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's still at school. Absolutely right. So, Chris, you win that game 3-1. Well done, Chris.
That was a rubbish quiz.
Only because you lost.
I didn't want to play it anyway.
Yeah, not interested.
Don't care.
Right, are we all quizzed out?
I think so.
We're all quizzed out. We've spoken a lot about goals.
So on that, I've got an AOB, but it's goals related.
Ooh.
But it's topical. Reading today about an Arsenal under-16 game where a young
Haven't
player...
you got better things to do on a Sunday, mate?
15, no, clearly not. 15-year-old called, and I might be mispronouncing his name. Apologies if I am. Chido Obi Martin. He's a Danish and English under-17 international, although he was born in Denmark. I can't remember exactly when he moved to the UK. He has trained with the first team. He has featured for the under-21s once this season. He regularly features for the under-18s, but there were no games for the older age groups this weekend, so he turned out for the under-16s against Liverpool. And he scored 10 goals. So a triple hat-trick and then 10 goals in a 14-3 victory.
What I love about that is I love the fact that if there was a Vidi printer of it, they would put the number 10 and then in brackets write the word 10.
You saw it right. Yeah.
I love that.
3 hat-tricks. I like his killer instinct to go for the 10th. He's got 3 hat-tricks. It's like...
Yeah. At what point would we have switched off and gone, well, I've scored 7. Like... What more do I need to do?
So,
amazing.
Chido Obi Martin, name to watch out for, perhaps.
So when we do our 2,000 goals at the Emirates special, maybe he will be a headline figure.
Or our most iconic goals in 10 years' time. He'll have had his Reece Nelson moment.
Quite a few.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. At that rate, 10. He's put himself... I think he had, for the under-18s, he scored a hat-trick against Southampton a few weeks ago. So... It sounds the most ridiculously obvious thing to say, but he does know where the goal is. And in a goals show, I think that's quite a nice way to sign off, with one of our youth team players scoring 10 in open brackets, TEN, close brackets, in a game against Liverpool. No small opposition there either. Anything else from you guys?
No, just that I've had a great time thinking back on all these goals, and especially the Tottenham goals. It's put me in a right good mood.
I would just want to add a thank you to everyone that's contributed, really, because particularly from people within the sort of pod community, because I'm sure everyone listening listens to several Arsenal podcasts, and I think it's good that we're all part of this kind of Arsenal community. It's not like back in the old days when ITV were trying to vie with BBC for the best programmes. We're all part of a community producing hopefully good content, and thank you to everyone for being part of it.
Amen.
Yeah, well said, Chris. Brilliant.
Right, excellent. Well, back to the grind after this with Premier League and so on. But for now, as Steph is quite clearly doing, kind of...
Beaming.
Yeah, beaming, just a warm glow of nostalgia.
Absolutely.
And on that note, have a great one. See you guys. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye. The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at NorthBankPod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.
Wilshere neatly stepping away from Fur. It's Kieran Gibbs. Santi Cazorla with the chance to drive at Norwich here. Jack Wilshere. Cazorla. Giroud. Giroud again. Jack Wilshere. It's stunning from Arsenal. Beautiful, beautiful football.